New this morning, a pitch to expand child care in the city to reach families with kids as young as 6 weeks old. Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine is pushing to extend free child care to more New Yorkers. He has published his roadmap to universal child care proposal, which says that 3K and pre-K programs could be expanded to be universal through 2, reaching an age gap that otherwise doesn't have access to free child care. Levine also looking to provide cash to families with young children through a newborn support program. His proposal includes a series of reforms for child care providers in the city. He says that would benefit both families and those child care providers, giving them the opportunity to blend infant care program with care of the somewhat older children that they take care of, to balance costs and keep their relationships with families as the children age. Mark Levine joins me now to discuss this proposal. Good morning.
Thank you, Pat. Great to be here.
What got you on to this topic? How much of a need did you see out there?
Well, we have a terrible affordability crisis in New York City. And typically we talk about rent and housing as being a huge challenge there. But the number 2 challenge for families with young kids is, without a doubt, childcare. And my office did an analysis. We found that 80% of families with young kids in New York City can't afford childcare at current rates. This is a hardship that often leads parents to leave the workforce, to stay home to provide care, which is a loss for our economy. And we have a successful model for older kids in 3K and pre-K, and we want to extend that now to kids as young as 6 weeks old, and we call it universal through 2 or U through 2.
So it gets a little blurry for us at this time in campaign season as to when an elected official is acting in their current capacity, when they're acting in their capacity as a candidate. In your case, you are running for controller, so I want to ask you a dollars and cents question on this.
Yes.
It's really easy to put out a roadmap and make a pitch. It's another to find the political support and the money to pay for it. What is your expectation in terms of this program? It would be very costly.
Well, the good news is there's growing political support for the idea of offering universal free childcare. I'm very excited about the support coming from citywide leaders on this. We wanted to answer the question of how we could get there. And in particular, we're focusing on activating home-based childcare providers by offering them better contracts, reimbursement rates that reflect their true costs. But as for cost, as I mentioned, this will allow thousands of families and parents to return to the workforce. The city's Economic Development Corporation estimated that there's a $23 billion impact from people who are out of the workforce providing childcare, and specifically a $2 billion loss in tax revenue. If we can give those families a chance to get back into the workforce, that will pay for the cost of the program, which we estimate would be about $2 billion.
So in some ways, it's a private expense now that you hope could become a public expense to help these families with that money?
Yes, right now families are making the tough calculation to leave the workforce and stay home with their kids. So we're losing that economic activity, we're losing the tax revenue. It would be much better for the city to pay to subsidize the child care so people can go back to work and earn a salary and pay taxes. That kind of exchange would be a win-win for New York City.
We have a number of stories this morning about Mayor Adams, about his legal problems, about the legal problems of members or recently former members of his team. We have seen quite a shift in the mayor's behavior as someone who was firmly a Democrat, I think, a few years ago, to somebody who is really looking at closer relationships with the Trump administration. Was on Fox News for an interview yesterday. Are you concerned that someone who had been a Democratic ally is shifting away from that now?
I'm very concerned to see embrace by the mayor of some of Trump's more draconian rhetoric and policies, particularly related to immigrants. The Trump administration has put forward an explicit plan to deport millions of Americans. That in practice would be ripping families apart in New York City. It might look like agents going door to door.
He would argue that he's going to cooperate with them to some extent. You'd push for a more full-on resistance?
Well, I think we need to very clearly say that we do not want to see a deportation force going door to door in New York City, ripping families apart. I want every leader in New York City to speak very strongly to make a moral case that this is wrong and that's not who we are as Americans or New Yorkers. I hope the mayor will say that as well. And I'm dismayed to see that he has not been distancing himself from those kinds of policies from the Trump administration.
There'll be another time for a full discussion on the controller's race, but it's certainly shaping up to be a crowded field.
We're off to a great start. It's been a really good week since our announcement. I'll be in 4 boroughs today, Pat. It's a very big city, but getting a great response.
Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest news and weather updates every 10 minutes and more. We'll see you then.